Joining us right now to try and figure out what to expect is Mark Fields. He's former Ford Motor Company president and CEO, also a CNBC contributor. And Mark, what are you anticipating? We've talked a little bit earlier with Phil LeBeau about what to expect, but there's a lot riding on this for the company.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the big question is, are they going to be able to eke out some growth? I think you heard the numbers. They have to deliver about 515,000 units in the fourth quarter to get a little bit of that growth. I think they'll do it, right? Because the PR value, if you will, of being able to say you've grown for another consecutive year, I think is important for them. But if they don't, this is going to be the first year that they actually have a year-over-year decline in total yearly sales.
And it's happening at a time when Tesla shares have taken off. Now, granted, a lot of that is because of the expectation that Elon Musk's close relationship with President Trump could mean good things for the autonomous point of view. What has to happen in order to really see what's coming next for Tesla shares?
Yeah, it's a great point, Becky. You've seen the run up in the anticipation. Now it's about delivering. And listen, the big question is, has he, alienated his left-leaning consumers with his embrace of Trump? At the same token, I think you're seeing in the fourth quarter a little bit of a sugar rush of people rushing to buy EVs potentially before the EV incentives, the federal incentives, potentially could come off depending on what Trump wants to do. I think for this year coming up, it's going to be all about, introducing new models. I think you're going to see them focus a lot on affordability. So I think their Model 3 and their Model Y, you may see some lower price versions, either because they've made some improvements in the battery efficiency, the electrical architecture, or they're just decontenting the vehicles. At the same time, I also think, you're going to see they're going to have to show some progress on their autonomous driving. Musk has spoken about that many, many times. He introduced the Cybercab last year and said it was going to come sometime in 2025. And as you know, he has a history of not delivering on those promises. But those two things in particular, I think, are going to be really important for them to deliver on to justify this run-up in the stock.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you about a separate question? I don't know how familiar you are with Turo, but as someone who ran Hertz car rentals, I haven't used Turo before. I know that if I go to a Hertz Hertz stand to rent a car, I'm going to have to show my ID. I'm going to have to prove that I'm at least 25. There's going to be pretty vigorous checks that go through this. And I'm asking this, of course, because of what we have learned today, that the vehicles driven both in New Orleans and in Las Vegas in these attacks were both rented on a Turo app. Now, they may or may not be connected, but for somebody who's not familiar with how Turo works, could you walk us through it?
Well, I'm not intimately familiar with them. All I know is it's all app-based. And so, a lot of it is based on the information that they're putting on their profiles and that they're being trustworthy in doing that. I think it is interesting that both these vehicles were rented by Turo. And, clearly Turo has said they're helping with the investigation. But I think what we may see is, they're going to up their game in terms of, the backgrounds on their customers. But this is, it's never a good thing when your vehicles and your company is in the middle of, a tragic incident like this. But both vehicles being rented through Turo, that may be more than just coincidence.